Every bill that piles up, every hour sold for too little, every dream postponed, all of it feels like chains. And while you struggle to break free, others grow richer without lifting a finger. The gap isn't effort. It's design. Centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli dissected this imbalance with ruthless clarity. He was not a dreamer, nor a moralist, but a strategist of survival. His writings revealed why influence outlasts fairness, why perception outweighs truth, and why wealth flows not to the deserving, but to the calculating. This video distills those lessons into modern laws of wealth and control. Not cliches about saving or grinding, but the cold tactics that decide who stays trapped and who becomes untouchable. Niccolò Machiavelli once observed that men grieve less for the death of a father than for the loss of inheritance. The meaning is clear: wealth cuts deeper than blood. Money is not just currency, it is survival, reputation, and dominion. Whoever holds it commands the fate of others. The crucial lesson is this: money is never neutral. It behaves like a weapon. In the hands of the unprepared, it evaporates. In the grip of the strong, it multiplies. But this weapon only yields to those who abandon illusions of fairness and comfort. The transformation begins with the death of the victim's mindset. It begins with observation, because most people are blind, predictable, ruled by emotion, and unable to see how they are manipulated in the financial game. Once awareness sharpens, the machinery of wealth becomes visible. The ordinary worker toils, saves scraps, and obeys rules, yet his life remains a prison. His sweat enriches someone else. The reason is simple: he trusts effort instead of leverage, fairness instead of manipulation, appearances instead of power. This blindness is the chain that binds him to poverty. From here, the first law emerges: weaponize silence. The majority attempt to win wealth through chatter, pleading, and displays of need. They expose desperation like a stench. Silence, however, exerts pressure. Silence forces others to reveal themselves. In negotiations, in deals, in every opportunity, the quiet strategist gains the upper hand, because people loathe silence and rush to fill it, often with weaknesses, secrets, or concessions. The wealthy understand this law. That is why they remain composed while others scramble. They wait, they listen, and when the moment comes, they strike. Silence transforms prey into predator. Yet silence alone is not enough. Predictable reactions still hand control to others. That is why the next law exists: unreadability. Most display fear, greed, or insecurity openly, transmitting signals like a beacon. Predators capture these signals instantly. This is how the powerful manipulate markets, employees, and even allies. They read others faster than those others can think. To escape poverty, the mask must be mastered. A person unreadable cannot be anticipated. One who cannot be anticipated cannot be controlled. Such a person becomes dangerous. Immune to advertising, peer pressure, and fashion, he saves when others spend, advances when others hesitate, and withdraws when others rush blindly forward. Empires are built in this manner, not by joining the herd, but by standing above it, watching, and striking with precision. Another truth must be faced: each emotional impulse drains strength. Every rash reaction to fear or greed feeds someone else's treasury. Money is always in motion. If it leaves one's hands carelessly, it fuels the arsenal of another. Thus arises the law of predators' patience. The ordinary are impulsive. They chase fads, gamble on hype, and lunge at illusions of quick wealth. Their restlessness makes them easy prey for those who wait. The wealthy advance slowly, deliberately, like lions in tall grass. They conserve energy, strike only when fear grips the crowd, and harvest opportunity when panic blinds the many. Patience is why fortunes are built in crises. It explains why the strong buy when the weak sell, why they expand when others retreat. Patience is a blade that cuts markets open for those who wield it. But it demands discipline, and discipline is precisely what the majority reject. They crave comfort, ease, and instant pleasure, the cheap thrill of spending instead of the cold power of control. This weakness keeps them enslaved to wages, while those who master discipline, silence, and unreadability rise beyond reach. Here lies the darkest reality: most will never break free. They remain too reactive, too emotional, too blind. They will live and die as prey. Yet those who embrace these laws escape ordinariness, poverty, and fragility. They become untouchable. And deeper still, the veil continues to tear. Wealth is not earned, it is seized. Silence bends others. Unreadability shields power. Patience transforms risk into advantage. But stopping here leaves the transformation incomplete. Because wealth is not only about defense, it is about turning others into resources. At that point, the true game begins. Most assume that wealth is born from effort. They believe the rich simply work harder or smarter. Yet this is only a shallow illusion. True wealth is constructed through positioning, by standing where the labor of others flows upward, often without them even realizing it. Workers grind endlessly, but their pay reflects only a fraction of the value they generate. The remainder rises quietly into the hands of those positioned above them. This is the law of leverage. Those at the top don't need to push harder, they only need others to keep moving. Machiavelli noted that people are changeable by nature, easy to persuade, but difficult to keep persuaded. Applied to money, this means that effort, loyalty, and obedience are unstable. Yet if the system is designed so that the work of many must pass through one position of control, their instability becomes irrelevant. Wealth continues to accumulate while the masses remain trapped. Leverage explains why a single landlord grows rich while hundreds of tenants pay rent until death. It explains why one investor prospers while thousands gamble and fail. It explains why corporations harvest billions from millions of customers who complain but still return. Here lies the brutal truth: most never even consider leverage. They think only of earning. They sell hours. They sell labor. And in doing so, they sell life itself. That is why poverty persists, because hours are the only currency that cannot multiply. Those who master leverage stop selling hours and start building systems. They create positions where time, money, and energy stream toward them. They cease to be workers and become hunters who set traps. Yet even leverage collapses without control. The masses are fickle, shifting loyalties, chasing new trends, abandoning old commitments. Without anchoring them, the flow slips away. This is why the law of narrative matters. Wealth does not flow to the best product. It does not flow to the hardest labor. It flows to the best story. Humans are irrational, belief outweighs logic. Those who craft the narrative dictate the movement of money. This is how religions forge empires, how brands become cults, how politicians command millions with words alone. The narrative is the lens through which reality is seen, and whoever shapes that lens commands the direction of wealth. And the secret is this: the narrative does not need to be true. It only needs to be believed. Once a story is accepted, people surrender their money, their loyalty, their labor, even their lives. The average mind resists this principle, clinging to the illusion that truth and fairness rule the world. But observe closely, lies repeated long enough harden into reality. Carefully constructed appearances solidify into truth. And those who dismiss narrative as manipulation remain poor, because money follows belief, never reality. The weak consistently trade labor for power. Their belief is simple: if more effort is poured in, more reward will come. Yet hard work alone is the currency of fools. The wealthy substitute differently: ideas for labor, influence for action, perception for reality. Consider the contrast. One man digs a trench all day and earns a wage. Another organizes 10 men to dig 10 trenches and collects 10 wages without touching a shovel. The greater mind is not the one who sweats, but the one who substitutes. Machiavelli warned rulers never to rely solely on their own strength but to employ the strength of others whenever possible. Wealth follows the same law. Those who forever trade time for money remain poor. Those who exchange perception for value, ideas for labor, and the energy of others for their own gain, open endless streams of income. The uncomfortable truth is this: the rich are not laboring harder. They are making others labor harder for them. Yet substitution alone is incomplete without another principle, the law of illusion. People rarely purchase what something is, they purchase what they believe it to be. That is why a diamond, nothing more than compressed carbon, carries the weight of fortunes. Why common cloth transforms into luxury under a designer's label. Why paper, worthless on its own, commands nations when printed as currency. Wealth follows illusion. Those who master illusion build empires. They do not sell reality, they sell the story wrapped around it. This explains why men with no riches can profit by teaching others how to become rich. This explains why entire industries thrive on fabricating desire for goods no one truly needs. Illusion generates demand, and demand generates wealth. Those who reject illusion as dishonest have already lost. The world does not reward honesty, it rewards mastery of appearances. Even Machiavelli declared, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." Appearances are power. Illusions are currency. Those who control them, control wealth. And here lies one of the most dangerous principles, the law of exploitation. The word itself makes the masses recoil, imagining cruelty or evil. But in its pure form, exploitation simply means uncovering unused value and extracting it. The wealthy excel at this. They spot gaps, inefficiencies, fears, wasted resources, and turn them into profit. Exploitation does not always target people directly. It may target timing, waste, or panic. Take fear: when markets collapse, the crowd sells in panic, bleeding losses. The predator exploits this fear, buys cheap, and multiplies wealth. Take attention: billions waste hours scrolling endlessly. The predator exploits this by capturing attention with stories, converting distraction into income. Exploitation is not cruelty, it is realism. If opportunities are not exploited, someone else will exploit them instead. Poverty comes not from being victimized by evil, but from lacking the coldness to see opportunity in weakness. Yet even exploitation becomes dangerous without control. Which leads to the law of withholding. The weak expose themselves, believing openness creates trust. They reveal plans, emotions, vulnerabilities, and surrender leverage in the process. The wealthy reveal nothing until it serves them. They master partial disclosure, feeding just enough to stir curiosity, desire, or dependence, but never enough to become predictable. In negotiation, this principle decides victory. The average man blurts out his price, his limits, his needs. The predator withholds. He listens. He waits. He calculates. And when the time comes, the other side is already cornered. Withholding generates mystique. Mystique creates power. Power produces wealth. The richest often appear silent, distant, unreadable. They are not hiding out of weakness. They are hiding because exposure is vulnerability. Draw the lines together: silence bends people. Unreadability shields power. Patience converts desperation into timing. Leverage turns others into resources. Narrative controls belief. Substitution frees from servitude to labor. Illusion multiplies value from nothing. Exploitation extracts profit from waste. Withholding protects position. These are not tips. They are weapons. Ancient, sharp, and cold. Once wielded, the money game is no longer endured, it is controlled. The final shift is identity. Most live and die as prey, emotional, predictable, enslaved by wages and illusions of fairness. Those who walk this path shed that fate. They become observers, strategists, phantoms in the marketplace. Imagine the contrast. While the herd stumbles, blinded by impulse, the strategist moves with X-ray vision. Weaknesses, tells, and emotional leaks become visible. Instead of reacting, the predator waits. He acts only when the outcome is already secure. This is the state of unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable. At that level, wealth no longer has to be pursued. Wealth pursues the strategist. Once tasted, such power cannot be abandoned. Crossing into it means leaving the herd behind forever. The remaining question is application. Philosophy means nothing without practice. These laws must be lived, woven into daily choices, conversations, negotiations, relationships, business, conflict. Carried quietly, like hidden blades. Only then do they transform into armor, into weapons, into empire. The principles have been named: silence, unreadability, patience, leverage, narrative, substitution, illusion, exploitation, withholding. These are not abstract words. They are weapons. Yet a weapon left unused is nothing but decoration. To become untouchable, these laws must be carried into daily life, concealed like hidden blades. Wealth is not forged in rare grand moments. It is shaped in ordinary choices where most people stumble. That is where separation begins. That is where transformation takes place. Conversations. The majority speak to be noticed, to prove themselves, to fill empty space. But words are currency, and currency must be invested. Silence creates pressure. Silence gathers information. While others ramble, the strategist observes, noting hesitations, contradictions, emotional leaks. Over time, people reveal more in silence than they ever would in speech. Negotiations. Amateurs believe the goal is to push their case. They argue, defend, and over-explain. But negotiation is war disguised as dialogue. The calm strategist always defeats the frantic one. Unreadability becomes armor. Excitement, fear, desperation, withheld. Silence becomes a substitute for their panic. When the final words are spoken, the other side has already conceded more than intended. Relationships. Influence is a currency as valuable as money. Yet most squander it by being too available, too predictable, too emotional. Withholding creates mystique. Partial access creates demand. People respect what they cannot fully possess. Distance becomes gravity. Respect, loyalty, and investment flow toward those who reveal only fragments of themselves. Business. Here the Machiavellian laws reveal their sharpest edge. Companies collapse when they attempt to sell only reality, features, effort, logic. Predators sell illusions. They craft stories. They manufacture desire. Apple, Tesla, luxury brands, their products rarely equal their prices, yet narratives make the masses line up to beg for entry. Wealth follows perception, not substance. Conflict. The weak exhaust themselves fighting every skirmish, bleeding strength in trivial disputes. The predator saves energy. Watches. Waits. Strikes only when victory is assured. That is why fortunes are built in recessions, why expansion happens when others retreat. Impulse wastes power, patience multiplies it. And then comes the shift. While others crave comfort, the strategist embraces discipline. While others expose themselves, the strategist remains unreadable. While others drown in work, the strategist builds leverage. While others tell truth and vanish, the strategist sells illusions and ascends. At that point, the separation is complete. No longer part of the herd, the figure becomes unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable, a phantom in the world of money. Wealth is not screamed, nor flaunted. It accumulates quietly, until one day the herd looks up and realizes the predator has already risen beyond them. History has always been divided into two kinds of people. The many, who live chained to habits, comfort, and illusions. And the few, who shape those illusions into weapons and build empires on the backs of the crowd. Machiavelli understood this division centuries ago. He showed that power is not inherited, not gifted, not deserved, it is designed. The average mind will never break free. It will waste energy in battles that don't matter, trade hours for wages, and call it survival. But those who strip away illusions begin to see the structure of control itself. They become architects instead of laborers, predators instead of prey. This is not about joining the powerful. It is about becoming untouchable. It is about mastering silence, patience, leverage, narrative, and illusion until they form an invisible architecture around your life. Once that structure is in place, the herd can no longer touch you, because the herd no longer understands you. The next step is not optional. Either sink back into noise, comfort, and predictability, or continue deeper into the mechanics of power. The doorway has already been built. Step through it, and enter the playlist Machiavelli on Power as Design.